Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. We record these interviews so potential buyers have more information about the seller and the business to help them make a buying decision. Before we dive in, let's go over a brief summary of this business. It is an Amazon FBA business created in June of 2015 in the home and equipment niches. The average monthly revenue for the business is $130,534 and makes an average of $28,458 per month in net profit. The assets included in the sale are an Amazon Seller Central account with 14 SKUs, primary domain and all site content and files, secondary domain, 301 redirect domain, contractor relationships, supplier relationships, Shopify account, trademarks, an email list, a pending design patent, a Facebook page, and just as a disclaimer, inventory is not normally included in the list price, but further details can be provided to verified buyers. So for everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 62988 to learn more about the business, or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. So that's a brief overview of the business for sale. Let's hear from the sellers with me today. So welcome to the show, Ryan and Angie. How are you doing today?
We're doing great.
Yeah, we're doing good. We're excited. Just got, listed on Empire Flippers.
Yes, I'm excited to have you. And I'm excited to also learn more about you and your business. So to get us started with the first question, can you just tell me a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Yeah, so I was actually a hospice chaplain in Northern California for a number of years. And I had very fortunate. I have two friends that are very, very successful in online businesses. And they threw out an idea about an Amazon FBA business to me and introduced me to this model. So it was a combination of taking some courses and listening to podcasts. Actually, I drive around in my car to different people's homes. I listen to podcasts trying to figure this stuff out. And that's how we got into Amazon FBA.
Yeah, coming from a very different world from the online space. How are you finding it comparing the work that you do in the, brick and mortar spaces, the physical location space, and then to the online world? How was that transition?
I've loved it. Angie and I have two little people now. So it's
congratulations.
For us to, work from home. My little girl and my little boy can pop into my office whenever they want. In fact, they might pop into the office in the middle of this podcast. They, obviously financially, I tell my mentors, our financial picture for our family has drastically changed. And I would also say that it's allowed us to reach our goals of just wanting to do family life well, go outdoors on adventures. We're outdoor junkies. So it's treated us incredibly, incredibly well.
Nice. So it's been a journey. You've started this in 2015 and here you are. So why are you deciding to sell the business now instead of keeping it and growing it?
Ryan and I, ever since we met, we've always talked business ideas. And I think the two of us really like building things from the bottom up. We enjoy getting things off the ground. And over the last 7 years, our business has grown to the point that it's beyond the two of us. I would say it's come to the point where it's ready for a team. And yeah, we had to come to that kind of why in the road, deciding are we going to hire out a big team and build out a team now, or are we going to cash in, take the capital, and then start from the ground up again? And so, yeah, that's what we decided. We decided that we're ready to start building from the ground up again. And that's just kind of what we do.
Yeah. I'll also add to that and say, we're interested in creating a relationship with the buyer as well. Someone that would obviously want to buy this business, but they're in the business of buying businesses. We're going to build another dynamic one. And who knows, there might be an opportunity for a longer term relationship.
Yeah, nice. That is something that I'll hear more often than I expected, is that there's a difference between building something from the ground up and operating the business. It's two different sides. And a lot of business owners, they get into this and they like the building phase. And once it gets to more of the sustained operation phase, it's kind of a different question. It's, do I now want to enter this phase of this business? And as Angie mentioned, it would imply bringing on a whole team and growing that out further. So makes sense. Okay. So obviously this business has seen a lot of success. So what would you say that you learned from building this that worked, that contributed to that success?
I like to talk about the king, the queen, and the older sibling, right, in business. And the king is always quality, right? Quality products always win. But if no one knows about how high quality of a product you have, then it's not going to sell. So that's why you need the queen, which is marketing, right? So the king is quality, the queen is marketing, and the third element is customer support, making sure that you create an ongoing relationship with the customers so that they're satisfied. So what we've learned is don't sell that. If you launch a bad quality product, just not going to work. I initially got into the plumbing space and launched a plumbing product that just didn't work, right? And so you launch products that are not good quality, you are not going to have successful business. On the flip side, we landed in this niche. The original business model was low MOQ, so we would order 200 units from different manufacturers, throw things up against the wall, see if they would stick. And I had, one product that was sticking for a long period of time. And when we really started to really pursue and educate ourselves on marketing, that's when this product, which we built a brand around, ultimately stuck. We got very high ratings. We got, our review count is higher than anybody else in the category. I think that that's where anything that we've learned is you got to have a product that has strong utility for the customer, because they're going to let you know if it's a good product, if it's a bad product. And launching quality products is everything.
Yeah, a few points there. Well, first of all, I just wanted to make sure. So I like your analogy there of the king, queen, and the older sibling. Just to make sure, the older sibling then is the customer support element to that? Was that right?
Absolutely. What I like to say is any business, I don't care, online, offline, brick and mortar, you need conversion, you need customer acquisition, right? Acquire the customer, convert them, and reconvert them, right? Obviously, Amazon provides a very huge space to acquire customers. And then obviously you need your marketing and convert them. And customer service is that customers would keep coming back and purchasing from you. The king, queen, older sibling analogy, right? You got a good quality product. You let the customer avatar know about that quality of product. Being very clear. I think marketing is about clarity, right? And then serving the customer on the back end. In fact, our series of products that we launched had everything to do from what the customers were telling us they wanted, right?
Yeah, they would email us or write in on the questions asking for specific type of item. And then when we got enough requests for that, we would go and manufacture it.
In fact, this one that we just launched in the spring was certain people were just asking for it. We're like, oh, that's interesting. The search volume wasn't necessarily there. They were asking for it. We're like, okay, we think there's something on this. And now we're seeing 6 months later after the launch that the search volume is definitely following it. So, listening to your customer is absolutely key.
Because usually if a few customers are going to reach out, they're going to represent a lot.
Yeah.
A broader body of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a really great point because, especially if you listen to podcasts and take courses, there's inevitably going to be a section that talks about looking at the traffic and the search volume and then balancing that out with the opportunity and the difficulty of entering a space. But it sounds like the way that you successfully expanded was more of, subjective approach, is listening to the customer, despite there not being necessarily the search volume or the traditional metrics that one would use to select a product. And it's turned out really well for you.
I would add to that, it's definitely a combination of both the subjective element and the objective element. I'm definitely on all the third-party tools looking at all of the search volume trends, right? And I'm trying to figure out some of the subjective elements coming from the customers, if they could weave into that. And we found a product this last spring that I think you would describe that, babe. Yeah. They kind of did just that. And yeah.
Nice. And would you say with the plumbing product, what was the difference between that product and what you have now, the things that are seeing success? Was it the King that was different, the product quality, or was it the combination of everything? Was it the way that you approached?
Yeah, it was definitely the King. I would say the products we have now, they work and they're great. They solve the customer's problem. The plumbing products, it just wasn't a great, we didn't really, I don't know if, it just wasn't a great quality product. It was cheaper. We were selling it cheaper. We were kind of going that way, being the kind of the lowest price point for a cheaper product. And we quickly realized that's not the way. That's not who we are. That's not what we were about.
No.
And so now we're on the higher end of the price point, but our product is also quality. We use it ourselves, friends use it, and customers are happy with it.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's a good sign when it's something that you and your friends use as well. I feel like I never thought about it in that way, but yeah, that's a nice point of validation, I guess. Okay, great. So that answered what worked. And I think we talked about, some things that you tried with this business that didn't work as well, which maybe was just starting with a product initially that was of lower quality. Maybe we can talk about the tests, the experiments that you did, because I think you mentioned that you tested out different products, maybe buying 100 to 200 units at a time. Is there anything you want to talk about there as far as your approach to product selection and kind of anything that didn't work, anything that worked with that?
I think that was kind of our model in the beginning, trying just to define what kind of niche we were going to actually end up in. I think once we found our niche, we've taken less of that approach and then just kind of built the brand out according to customers' feedback and the search firm report.
Yeah, I would say that the low MOQ model worked for us for a period of time. It was generating the cash flow that we needed early on to kind of get our bearings, to get our learning curve, right? In Amazon, I don't care in any business, you have a learning curve. And when you're new to it, you make a ton of mistakes, right? And so now I would say that the shift, obviously, from the quality of the product is very important, but also try to find, again, like we talked about before, what the customer is looking for, where there is moderate to low competition. And you can enter into that. If you can hit the early adopting phase, then you're going to see a good 12 months, 24 months of kind of blue ocean until everybody else. That's what happened. When no one really saw in our niche that there was the cash that there was. And when everybody saw the amount of cash that was in that market, then you start getting, a lot of people wanting to go on board.
This business has been operating for 7 years. Can you describe the amount and the type of work that you do on this business for maintenance? I'm aware this is a multi-person. There are tasks that are divided up.
Yeah, so Ryan and I run the business together. We do have two littles, a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. So I primarily talk through things, but I primarily just handle the inventory management and the customer service. And so honestly, it's only a few hours a week for me. But I just field any questions that come in over our either email through Amazon or questions that are asked on our page. And then I also, through Helium 10, request reviews through Amazon, the way that, according to Amazon's TOS. So I do that every week and then just manage our inventory, making sure that the inventory from overseas, all the orders are placed on time, and then we have 3PL here in the States. And so just transferring the orders to the FBA warehouses as needed. And so that's kind of my responsibilities. And I can do all that, probably 4 hours max a week. And then Ryan kind of does the PPC and advertising portion. And I'd say that's a bit on the bigger side of responsibility.
I run our Amazon PPC, and I try to, keep us focused on the vision of where we want to go, and to brag on Angie a little bit as well. As we're talking about like what products we want to get into, I would say we're very collaborative together on that portion of just like, hey, I'm thinking through this idea, bouncing things off of each other to make sure that like it kind of resonates with both of us. And I think that's worked really well for us.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. You mentioned the vision and compelling vision that works for you. So, if you were to keep the business, what are some ways that you could see yourself growing it? And I guess aligned with that vision.
That's a cool thing about our business, honestly. I feel like it's just at the beginning
Yeah.
that there is so much growth potential for someone who has a team. And so there's just so many other products that could be launched within the same brand. And it's in the product family that every household in America could use.
Yeah.
And so there's just so much growth for launching products. You can launch them every month or more if you have the team to do it. So I think there's a lot of room for product growth. There is also a lot of space. We have not yet explored the international markets, the FBA international markets. So there's a lot of potential growth in the international markets. There's lots of, we've had, in the last month, we've had 2 people approach us for wholesaling opportunities. So there's definite interest in growth outside of Amazon.
Yeah.
Something that could eventually go into retail if you had the right connections and the right people and you had a desire to do that. There's Shopify that could be built out, Walmart, Wayfair. There's just endless opportunity for someone who has a team and who's a go-getter and can see the vision. I think it could get to be a very, much bigger.
Yeah, and I would say, if there's a buyer out there who has a Shopify team, I know a lot of these aggregators are starting to do that, to build out Shopify teams. But I had a friend that consulted with me a little bit and who runs a pretty successful Shopify store, and he gave me a few ideas, to really press the gas in that regard. So yeah, this is a long conversation, to be had with somebody that would be interested. But yeah, we feel like there is, if you have a good launch process, international markets, as you mentioned, even some of these off markets, I think that I'd say 2-3 quarters down the road, if you could get all these things firing in the right direction, you could be very profitable.
Yeah, I can see how this business is ready to grow, especially given what you said about getting some of those people coming out to you, reaching out to you for those wholesale inquiries, and just kind of, if you want to take it in that direction, it's a big step, but it's kind of ready to go. So that's kind of the feeling that I get with this business and where it's at currently.
Yeah, even the wholesale opportunities, we didn't necessarily see that coming, so that was like 2 people reached out to us and were like, oh, that's a whole other beast, right?
Yeah.
But it speaks to the quality of the product, that it's working for people and for their clients.
Yep, that's exciting. Okay. Well, of course, with opportunities, there's always risks with any business. So what do you think are the biggest risks with this business that a buyer should be aware of?
Well, it is an FBA business, and so, Amazon is one market and they can do what they want at times. And they, people familiar with FBA markets know what I'm talking about over the last couple months. It's like, oh, you're going to make that change. Okay. So I think that is definitely the risk of, I'm sure people.
Yeah, it's a love-hate relationship with Amazon. You love them, but then they're also can do whatever, they can change their terms of service whenever they need to. And
yeah,
so that's a risk that you take, you know, being one of the largest e-commerce platforms.
I may have had a dream or two about getting Jeff Bezos in a headlock and giving him a noogie. Just like, buddy, what are you doing?
I can only imagine how many people shared that exact same dream. But the risks that you just mentioned, it speaks exactly to the opportunity that you also talked about, which is to diversify those sales channels to wholesale, retail, other online sales platforms, going international. So it seems like the opportunity is a direct answer to what you just described as that risk.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah.
Great. Well, a few housekeeping questions just to wrap this up here then. How much support are you willing to offer a new buyer for this business?
Yeah, I would say Angie and I love this brand, right? We built this thing from a baby. Now it's definitely not a baby. We want to see it succeed. So, I think definitely the standard 30 days of email and phone support. But depending on the team that's going to be taking over the account, we definitely would love to, give, you negotiate more support as needed. We want to see this brand succeed. And so absolutely willing to do what it takes to
Yeah, we want a great, smooth transition. We want the new buyers to be successful, to feel comfortable. And if that's longer than 30 days, we're up for extended support.
Okay, great. And just confirming, would you commit to a non-compete?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And are you open to something like an earnout?
Yeah, absolutely. There's different terms that we're interested in and negotiating an earnout. I would definitely be open to having that conversation.
All right. So, last two questions here. Putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you think this is a business worth buying?
We talked about the opportunities before. Again, we're in a situation where all of these opportunities are before us. There's a team that's needed to execute on these opportunities that are before us. I would say if someone has a team ready to rock and roll, you could easily press the gas on these multiple levers to really see a good return.
Yeah, there's huge growth potential. I would say so many areas to grow the business and see a huge multiple.
Yeah, that's why we think the business is worth buying. And yeah, we want to see it transition well. We want to see it taken to that next level. And with the right buyer, with the right team in place, I think definitely it could take it to that next level.
Yeah, I can definitely see that with all of these different potential avenues, some of these avenues that customers are asking you to go down. So I think that's always a good sign of a business being at a point where it's ready to potentially get to that next level. So yeah, exciting. Okay. Well, last question then. Is there anything you'd like to add that you think I might have missed during the interview?
There was one thing. It's a little bit more on a personal note, I'd say, for Ryan and I. The fact that we have started this business with the belief that business can be a benefit to others. And so it's really been our heart to create like a social entrepreneurship aspect of the business. And so that's been one of our things, is that we give quarterly to people coming out of human sex trafficking. And I think that would be, like if there was a buyer who also has a heart, I would say, for like social enterprise. Yeah, I think that's something that Ryan and I both hold close to our hearts.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something we didn't lead with, because just something that we do, on a quarterly basis. We give a portion of our profits to a few organizations that are involved in rehabilitating those coming out of trafficking. And yeah, if there's a buyer out there, listen, Mark Cuban says the future of business are businesses that make an impact on the culture. And he said that a number of years ago. We firmly believe that. We believe that social entrepreneurship is just at its beginning. And ultimately, entrepreneurship is about solving problems, right? As we all know, over the last couple of years, there's a lot of problems in our world.
Yeah.
And I think entrepreneurs are perfectly aligned to step into situations and say, how can we solve some of these problems? How can we solve them through innovation? How can we solve them through creating private partnerships? And again, we've done it on a small scale. It's not been at a huge scale. I'd say if you were to ask Angie about a dream of ours, we would say that's one of the reasons actually why we're exiting. We want to be able to build something else that's going to do this maybe even more at scale. And so, yeah, that's definitely, I'm glad you mentioned that, babe. I think that's important for a buyer to know. That's kind of culturally who we are. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't think I've heard that component with some of these larger businesses in the online space. And yeah, I hadn't heard that before either, about just being a business that impacts cultures. And I think there's a lot of focus here and a lot of talk about the profits, and just cool to hear that the profits here, it's definitely a healthy business, that it's using the abundance for something that could become even bigger. So I guess I would add that to even more of the opportunity that this business has for growth in many more ways, it seems, than just profit. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I think this is the perfect place to wrap this up. So Ryan and Angie, thank you so much for sharing this story with me and just joining us on today's episode. And yeah, I hope your business is purchased in the near future and by that perfect buyer.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I appreciate it, Nick. And it's good talking with you. We've enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, same. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 62988. And if you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. And once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.